Yeah.
And that's very odd because I disagree with you two all the fucking time. And yet here I am every Sunday.
Yep. Well, I mean, but he's right though. Consider
Yeah,
that
but
it's
you're not our friend.
It's been, oh my God, Spencer.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And just like the entire year as a whole right now, I got nothing.
2020. Coming at you live.
Fucking hate it.
You remember when 2020 was going to be the greatest year ever because we all had 2020 vision on January 1st?
Hindsight's 2020.
We were all going to be able to look back at history and see all the mistakes that we as a society have made and not make them again.
Do you remember when everybody was like, we're entering the roaring 20s?
Yeah.
Oh. It's roaring, all right. Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit.
It's making me cough up blood and break windows.
Man, there's a lot going on.
I thought being diabetic was going to be the worst thing that ever happened to me.
It's not, right? This year
is.
This year is. Dude, it is the weirdest year of my life. It's got to be. I'm looking back. But
it's been the weirdest 3 years.
I talked to a guy that I work with. He said he spoke to his grandmother, who is about 70, and she said this is the weirdest year of her life. Of her 70 years, this is the weirdest year. And she was alive like during World War II. She had never seen society as a whole like be this.
My dad's 73 this year.
Shit, dude.
My fucking father.
You know, I
love you, Dad, if you hear this.
I got nothing.
You're old, though.
I thought something. This sounds terrible, but like, and one, and I will say one of the most traumatic things to happen to me in my entire life was like the death of both of my parents. But
Sure.
I actually thought I was like, I'm glad they didn't have to see this.
I've had
Is
that
it weird
thought
to
so
think
many
they
times.
got out on top?
It felt
Is
weird.
that insensitive saying it like that?
I don't.
Dude.
I've had that thought. So I'm glad you brought that up. I keep thinking of dead celebrities and dead or friends, even like my spiritual.
Like
father,
I'm glad
Tim
Prince
George.
didn't have to go through this shit.
Yeah, I keep going. Man, they didn't have to see this.
Dude. Oh man. That said, life is a gift, and I'm not trying to act like we're not. Anyway, welcome to the Beacon House, everybody. How's it going, you guys? I'm your host, Spence.
I'm Casey, I guess.
I'm Hunter.
Hey.
Till the aliens invade and probe me and take away my thoughts and feelings.
You're gonna want to probe Sleepy Joe first. Find out what escaped his butt.
Oh man. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, it just backfired.
Don't remember it's an election year.
Someone put sugar in the gas tank.
Hashtag carburetor 2020.
Eh.
The Democratic nominee.
God. They're referring to the video, which is now very hard to find. I'm pretty sure it's being taken out of Joe Biden pooping himself on during an interview.
It's funny you say pooping himself, but I think he just farted loudly.
I sounded, it might have been, I don't know. Like if you go back to our episode, The Great Equalizer.
I mean, I'm sure his wife didn't want to clean that pair of underwear.
We can't exactly, we can't poke too much fun at him because we did decide that it happened.
Not me.
Oh, okay.
I have not shit my pants. Well, I shit my pants when I was a kid, but that's not fair.
Maybe
enough.
that's Trump was onto something eating all that Wendy's and KFC because there's not enough fiber to force that shit out of
Yeah,
him.
just block it up with grease.
He might be fat as hell, but he's not shitting himself.
I think that's the least of his problems.
I agree.
We don't know that because who could possibly give any attention to anything coming out of the back hole when his front hole makes so much stinky fart noise?
Actually, I think that's a good point. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why Mike Pence's face is pinched all the time.
Trump's breath just
He's
smells like
farting
shit.
all the time.
Yeah. For all we know, they put his suit on wrong, and that is his ass up there talking.
He's the VP
No,
because he
Mike
agreed not
Pence.
to say anything.
Mike
about
Pence's face is squinched like that
because he stands behind Trump.
No, it's because he's contemplated sucking a dick for so long that it's just stuck
He needs
that way.
electroshock
He's like,
therapy to wash
would
it
I
out of
like
it?"
it? I feel like I would like it. And then Mike Pence's face. Listen,
You're probably onto something.
all my entire time of watching politics the last 4 years, that man has the most dead shark eyes I've ever seen out of any human being. Like when I talk, like when I talk about shadow government and New World Order. That's exactly who I look at taking over, and I'm terrified of it. Just this robot of a man who has no emotion whatsoever.
Like
think we're gonna
Voldemort
need
won't
a
hang
bigger
out with him.
party.
He's like, that guy's just a
and
little
he's
unemotional.
all for conversion camps, but weirdly, behind closed doors, lets his wife watch him get railed by some big dude. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I have to talk like Quint from Jaws, though.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
No, the sea captain, the drunk sea captain.
They're going to need a bigger butt.
No, Mike Pence walks in the room and his wife looks at him and she's like, you're going to need a bigger diaphragm for this one.
I looked at his finger and I said, 30 men come out. Only 2 survive. You and me.
You know, I heard
Let me in.
I heard Mike Pence does it in the bunker that Trump inspected, and that's why he had to go down there and check it out.
Ooh, this is killing me.
I heard the new White House bunker is where the Hellfire Club meets.
Maybe that's why Chris Cuomo wanted to leave so bad.
Yeah.
Dude, all I know is this. This is going to be
I'm already crying.
This election is going to be bonkers.
It's just going to be, basically, it's going to be a cripple fight. Just 2 old dudes duking it out.
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know.
Wait, it's not.
I don't even know what, like, literally, I don't know what to say about it. I'm just like,
let me ask you this. When it comes to
I-
November, who do you want to vote for? The racist enabler or the guy that says if you vote for the racist enabler, you're not black?
dude,
Both
You don't vote for me,
both
you're
of them-
not black.
Both of them seem kind of racist.
dude, I'm not voting for either one of
1994
those.
crime bill?
I'm not voting for either one of those fucking assholes. I was about to say, like, I was looking up a lady named Jo Jorgensen who is running for the nomination of the Libertarian Party. And, you know, you're going to get a lot of this. You'll probably see me posting about this. And she doesn't have the nomination yet, so she may not get it. But there's a whole bunch of people that are really smart vying for that. And they may wind up running together as, like, vice president or whatever. Anyway, but she's a PhD. She works at Clemson University. Smart as hell. She's a woman. You know, it's about time we had a woman president. All these, she fits the bill in so many perfect ways. But you're going to get all these people this fall going, well, the choices suck. We don't have any good choices. You can miss me with that shit because there are plenty of good fucking choices. They're just not on MSNBC.
Hey, I've seen plenty of people, especially in my age group,
man.
that have complained about the 2-party system, and you say you're done. How about you vote third party? That might do something.
Yeah, and I know everybody goes, but, and you know what? Before we get into it,
But is the problem. No
I
but.
acknowledge that
Throw your vote one way.
Everybody goes, but that's just going to take votes away from one of the other candidates, or blah blah blah. Like Jill Stein caused Hillary to lose, and you know, again, miss me with that shit too.
That's
Hey,
only because you
Yeah.
decided to vote for one of the other two
and
anyways.
I
Yeah.
don't mean to take away from what's going on in the world right now because it's very important for people to be heard in this movement to happen. But do you guys find it strange that the moment this whole thing started, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama both had to appear in court for a hearing over the emails in Benghazi, and no one's talking about that on the news?
No one.
Is that weird? That seems a little weird. Like
I
a race
actually
war
didn't
was
know about
incited
that.
to block Hillary Clinton being in court right now, being questioned.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. In response to the question you just asked, the way I found out about Jo Jorgensen was talking to a friend of mine who is ex-military. He was a Marine, and he
Sympathy.
he discovered her because of what was going on with Hillary. And he said that the reason he could not, he totally ready for a female president, but he could not support Hillary because of the Benghazi thing. And I said, well, what do you, he goes, well, I'm looking at Jo Jorgensen if she gets the nomination for Libertarian. I was like, no kidding. Anyway, for whatever reason, it is what it is. But yeah, that is a little peculiar.
I find it really odd.
Do you know?
Because it literally happened, like all the protests. I mean, of course, it all happened because of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Absolutely. However, at the exact same time that this is all going down, it just so happens that some of the most powerful elites of the Barack Obama administration are all being put in court right now and questioned for very, very heinous things.
do we know? Is there any outcome to those trials yet? Or is there any? I haven't heard the result of any. Of that stuff.
I can't hear anybody past the screaming.
Yeah.
I understand.
That's probably,
You look it up on Google News, you look it up on CNN, you can't find anybody covering it. Like, you have to, like, dig for it, and I'm a little afraid if I dig any further that I'm going to end up on a list somewhere.
That's weird. Yeah, I think it'd be worth investigating that. The Benghazi thing is very, very serious.
Dude, isn't that scary though too? Because I actually want to look into that shit all the time, and I'm afraid to Google it because I'm afraid I'm gonna.
I'm afraid of
disappear
any
one day.
website that's .gov.
Amen.
Yeah. So now I'm sure I'm going to get a phone call saying about how awfully horrible I am for.
It's just not a good
And-
time to look at anything objectively, including politics, because that's not. that's not popular right now. Objectivity and like
and they're now,
logic and things.
And what's funny is now there's this big push that conspiracy theorists are bad and conspiracy theories are bad. And now all of a sudden there's this negative connotation. Like the whole 5G tower thing is absolutely absurd, but that's the one that's blowing up. And they're like, see, look at these people. They're just like flat earthers and anti-vaxxers. Don't listen to conspiracy theorists. Don't listen to people who seem to peeled back the curtain a little bit and seen something they didn't like and talked about it. Don't do that. Instead, let's fight.
This quite a bit resembles what you've pointed out before in the past about, I can't remember if it was, I think it was COVID, maybe, but when all of that first started, that the government immediately was like, hey, UFOs are real. No more bullshit. Here are UFOs. And everyone was like, we've known. What about this? And they were like, no, but UFOs.
And then a couple weeks later, the
the
Pentagon was like, just kidding.
Yeah.
Like people started picking up heat on it, and they're like, no. We're just kidding.
Yeah.
Just like that Arizona observatory that got shut down because
oh my god, I forgot
the
about those
whole
last year,
area
right?
got shut down and military came in all because some guy had weird porn on his kitty porn on his laptop.
Oh yeah,
the janitor did, and they had to call in. They had to call in the National Guard because that's why.
Yeah, guys, I'm here to tell you right
ass.
now, the military does not investigate pedophilia.
Jesus.
I think conspiracy theories are healthy because it makes you
Question everything?
It makes you question things and not just take everything with a grain of salt. Like
No,
take,
yes.
take everything at face value.
Yeah, but it makes you take everything with a grain of salt.
Right.
And it's there's just so many weird things that have happened in the last 5 years that
Yeah.
there's either a power struggle at the top and two people are fighting and they're inciting all this crazy shit. You have one side pushing a pen because here's another thing, even with everything going on right now, there's still a big push that, hey, this pandemic's going to be awful. Like this virus is going to be awful, even though the numbers are still technically down death wise
what they should have
overall
been.
for what they should have been, which quarantine, what have you. But it's like the pandemic happened and then everything going on now with Breonna Taylor and the police brutality,
George Floyd,
and all these things that are being talked about are very important and they need to be discussed and talked about. But it just makes you wonder what's going on higher up, what's going on behind closed doors that none of us are privy to.
And I always say that. I always say that anytime there's like a huge now, and that's not to say that the police brutality is not real. It's not to say that all these riots didn't really happen and all these protests. And
it's obviously coming, and I'm happy about it.
It's not like saying that COVID was not real. It was. All those things were real, but the way that they were sensationalized and crammed down our throat. Anytime I see that about anything,
it just looks like a bunch of keys.
I just feel like, okay, there's something going on that we're not seeing now. They always want people to look at the shiny key. Yeah, shiny car keys.
Yeah.
So they can put something like the Patriot Act through behind our back or this trial or whatever's going on like that. So I think it's important to look behind the scenes always. I definitely think the media does push a narrative. I don't necessarily pretend to know why or what that is, but I think it's important, like we were talking about like critical thinking. I think it's important to look at it and go, now, wait a minute. Why do they want me to get wrapped up in this so bad? Is there something else that they don't want me to see? And I don't think that necessarily makes you a conspiracy theorist. That just makes you smart.
Yeah, it makes you not dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's
probably
broad.
takes a little more than that to make you not dumb.
I feel like that's broad. I feel like I'm not the smartest person in the world. I just have trust
No,
issues.
but you're not Simple Jack either.
It makes my eyes rain.
God.
I love that movie.
I do too. I'll stand
That was
behind
another
it.
thing when Robert Downey Jr. did Joe Rogan and they talked about Tropic Thunder and all these people who never watched the movie
just found
before.
it and they got mad.
Yeah, and everybody got super mad and like tried to like cancel Robert Downey Jr. And then all these people came out and they were like, no. I saw all these Twitter posts from people being like, hey, look at this 20-year-old kid that just discovered Tropic Thunder and now he wants to be woke about it.
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was on Rogan talking about how cancel culture is the stupidest thing. That somebody literally can go back and look at a job you did or something, and literally try to take your entire life away from you because of it, with no option to no possibility of reform or a discussion or anything like that. Just again, I'm not saying everything should be let go, but he explained why the totality of that is just as bad as the extremist qualities in things like racism and anytime, you know what I mean? Any type of discrimination, the whole cancel culture thing, it shares some of those similar extremes and a total lack of pragmatism.
Well, it's just like the shiny key that you guys were talking about. The people that just hop onto cancel culture and want to like propagate that, I guess, all over the place. Maybe they're trying to point you in that direction so hard because there's something that they have that they don't want you to see. And, you know, if they would calm down and just answer for it, then we could all move on together and it wouldn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and there's so few people are talking about and again, this may not be popular. C.S. Lewis said this was the least popular thing, even less popular than abstaining from sex, is the idea of forgiveness. That's the hardest thing to sell anybody, is the idea that you might have to forgive somebody who wronged you. That's almost completely disappeared in our culture. Now, if somebody makes you angry or does a wrong to you,
go find that dirt.
It's a witch hunt. Nobody wants to look at things and go, hey, I forgive you, and there's a chance of any type of retribution. It's just, I don't know. I think that's dangerous. It's taken a whole lot of the humanity out of the situations that maybe confront us. And I don't know. I was going to mention something about that. With everybody being so upset and so mad, and I'm not saying they don't have anything to be mad about. Fuck yeah, they have something to be mad about. And I'm glad, and I'll want to talk about that too. I'm glad to see the people rising up and causing a paradigm shift and getting the attention of the people in power and understanding that local governments are all of a sudden afraid of the public. I think that's a fucking step in the right direction. I have always been about that. We'll get to that, but
government should be afraid of their people.
Absolutely, it should.
A little
100%.
anarchy never hurt anybody, right?
I'm telling you, like,
I'm also really against the government, so I'm just all about.
See, I am too. And when I was younger, I really felt like an anarchist. I really did. I was so like the music I listened to was angry.
Can you be a quiet anarchist?
You
can I be quiet and like fun?
Sort of. Well, it just means that you're going to hold their feet to the fire. Now, some people think anarchy is the same. Some people think libertarianism is anarchy, and you just want to go around. You want to live in the movie The Road Warrior. That's not true. But the music I listened to, and the people that were my role models growing up, I listened to some really angry political metal and rock and stuff like that, like Megadeth and Queensryche, and like really it taught me not to trust the government, and I really appreciate that. But I was I would have probably been one of those people that wanted to go out and just burn, pardon the expression, burn the whole city down, just because it all looked like the establishment to me.
That's meant to be, by the way.
But the thing is, it's easy to feel like that when you're young, and you can say whatever you want, and you don't have anybody. And dude, I used to argue with cops. I didn't trust cops.
Still don't.
I sympathize with them a little more now because of what they go through.
Same.
But when you're young, it's easy to feel that angry when you're young. It's easy to just want to break everything and you just want to really, really lash out, And then as you get older,
hopefully,
all of a sudden, one day you've got somebody depending on you. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe you have a kid. Maybe it's just you're a role model for whatever reason. Or you're in a business and somebody puts you in charge of some other people. Now the things you say and do affect other people. And now if you act like an asshole and you're too hot-headed and you fly off at the mouth, you can cause other people stuff just by being who you are. And then you have to watch what you do a little more. You tend to protect your actions a little more. And all of a sudden the rebellion becomes less of a physical thing. Like instead of throwing bricks through windows and being out screaming in the streets or whatever, it becomes more of an intellectual thing. And you start to look at really where change occurs.
Yeah.
Rarely occurs at the shop window that you smash out with a broomstick. Generally, it occurs with laws. It occurs with that type of, and you start to understand like the tyranny of the government and local government that suppress us. And you start to really see the bad guys for what they are. And most of these are fought in courtrooms with pen and paper.
And also most of the bad guys are really charismatic and look really charming. But
absolutely.
Behind closed doors are the most wicked, evil people.
Wolf in sheep's clothing, 9 out of 10 times. And all of a sudden, the fight intensifies, but not violently and loudly, and definitely not on social media. And you find other ways. And that's when, again, that's maybe you all of a sudden decide, hey, it's really important to vote. And more than that, it's not just important to go vote blindly, but to figure out who you're going to vote for and why. Because they actually do go and fight the fight for you. And so things like that. But my whole point is, it's easy to be an anarchist like that when you're young. And I still don't trust the government. I still think that they need to be taken to task. But as you get older, it's hard to be that violent about things. And all that vitriol is kind of, it becomes misplaced. And you have to be a little more pragmatic. I know that's not a very exciting discussion to have with somebody that's super fired up and ready to hold a sign. I 100%, and I want to clarify this, because of the podcast we did a couple weeks ago, Fury 2020, where we were sort of, and I know I was sort of condemning like all the systemic racism and everything but also I was like, well, wait a minute, hang on. Like, I was kind of like, everybody calm down and stop fighting. Like, this shouldn't pit white people against black people and back and forth. Like, everybody's attacking everybody. Hold on. I was condemning the violence and the lack of objectivity, of being able to see it from the other guy's side and all the division. I'll never support that. And I think that breaks us.
Yeah.
But I possibly didn't voice my support enough for the protests. I am all about those protests. You know, I am 100% about the fact that all of a sudden you saw government all across this country take a step back and go, oh shit. Like, the people are fucking mad and they're not going to take it. They're talking about defunding police departments, which I'm not getting into that now, but there's a lot of reasons why that's probably not a good idea. But just the fact that that's even on the table, just the fact that the president and the armed forces and everybody, the fact that they're toppling these old racist monuments and things, I mean, the people rose up, and I will always be 100% in support of that. And I think that the government needs to be reminded more often that we won't take it. We won't stand.
They work for us. Don't let them fool you.
100%. And so I think all the protests are wonderful. I think all the people that went out and demonstrated, and everybody who did anything, I think just being that, I think that's extremely patriotic. And so I want to voice my support for anybody that protests for any reason and makes their voice heard and doesn't just let them, you know, shuffle you down the cattle chute.
Yep. So
I'm 100% in support of that. But all the division that occurred bothered me. And I just wanted to read from this picture. And I promise I'll shut up here. And I'm talking way too much. Sorry about that. Shut up, Hunter, you little dick. Anyway, so a psychotherapist named Dr. Jennifer Reed pointed out that a lot of times people absorb feelings of stress and anxiety during emotionally tumultuous times. And in the past couple of weeks, a lot of people worry about saying the wrong thing or even knowing what to say. And so a lot of people don't say anything at all. Or some people say a lot that maybe they shouldn't say. But regardless, what she talks about, this way of thinking prevents us from authentically connecting to those we love and actually getting any of our needs met. So it's very psychologically damaging to feel like you can't talk to anybody because of what's going on, or that everybody you talk to is offended, or that you might offend somebody if you say anything, and that there's no chance of forgiveness, there's no chance of, like I said, seeing things objectively, and like it's dividing people so much that it's psychologically dangerous for everybody to be ready just at each other's throats over something. And so I would say maybe while you're protesting and while your heart's pumping in your chest over your ideals and whatever it is you found, you got to be careful to still. We have to be connected. You know, we can't be divided by even our ideals. I think ideals are, if they don't unify us and make things better, move us into a better place, even our ideals maybe need to be reevaluated, I think.
No, and I totally agree with what you're saying. And to go back real quick, because you were talking about death metal and different bands that were anti-government, and that's where you kind of got your ideology.
And they weren't actually like death metal bands. I found a lot of those bands never got real serious, or if they did, it was like environmental stuff usually. Like Napalm Death was actually poetically and lyrically beautiful about the destruction of the environment and stuff. But I'm talking particularly a band, Queensryche, and particularly an album they wrote called Operation Mindcrime.
For me, it was Rage Against the Machine and Rise Against, and
100%.
And punk bands more than anything. But outside of all of that, the one person I listen to the most, who I talk about on here a lot, is George Carlin, because he talked about anti-government in a way that it was funny and relatable, but also it spoke so much truth. And he was just, I mean, all the time he was like, they don't care about you. This country's been bought and paid for a long time ago, and they don't give a fuck about you or you. They don't care what color you are. They don't care how much money you make. All they care about is getting that money from you. And they don't care about you at all. They're going to do anything to pin you together to make it seem like it's you against them or you against this other person, when really it should be us against the government.
I mean, to that point, I saw a clip of Joe Biden. I don't
shitting himself. We all did.
Yeah, I don't remember the context, but it was a commercial for, I guess, his campaign, and he was in his basement and someone had just put a caffeine drip in him, and as his eyelids fluttered to life again, he said something to the effect of, my least favorite part of campaigning is having to ask for money, but without money we can't. And like, you're a millionaire. You don't need donors.
He's not going to use his money.
No, I know.
You're right.
No, I know, but that's the point. Like what you're saying, like they just want your money. He wants that so that he can, he doesn't actually have a chair in that basement. All those interviews, he's sitting on stacks of Benjamins. Okay?
Dude, there is a thing too where some of the candidates, in order to stay in the race, have to raise so much money, even if they already have it. If they're loaded, I think they have to raise a certain amount of money to stay in the race. So
sure,
that's why people who aren't getting a ton of votes don't make it all the way to the debate stage. Like, if they don't have enough donors.
Wait, you mean like being able to get to the debate stage requires that you buy your way in?
It's almost like that.
It's very strange. Another one of my favorite George Carlin bits, which I think we talked about in the episode we talked about abortions, was where he said, if you're in the womb, you're safe, but the moment you're born, they don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, he goes, if you're pre-born, you're great. If you're preschool, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Like, you can go to YouTube, type George Carlin, and the thing you want to hear him talk about, and usually if it's political, he's talked about it in nauseum. Like, he's just over talked about it to the point where you could find and learn so much from, honestly, one of the funniest anarchists.
I'll tell you, two incredible sources for that type of material, which are like lighthearted and cynical and incredibly brilliant and super, are George Carlin and Frank Zappa. Mm-hmm. Zappa was like that too. He was always out to get the government, and he testified in front of the Supreme Court about the whole PMRC way back, and this is a little bit before you guys, that they were trying to like make it a crime to sing about certain things on records. They were wanting to label albums, and that was the Two Live Crew came out with that really nasty rap album, which I thought was brilliant. Nasty as We Want to Be, or Nasty as They Want to Be. And all of a sudden they went nuts, and it was Al Gore and his wife Tipper Gore, who wanted to censor music. For the first time ever, it became a crime to talk about something on an album. And then they went after everybody else. They went after all the people Prince was writing songs for, like Sheena Easton. Sheena Easton had a song called Sugar Walls that they said was super dirty. And it was dirty, but it was a great song. And it kind of took all the responsibility away from the parents. Mm-hmm. And Zappa pointed this out. He said, if you're afraid that listening to, Sheena Easton or Two Live Crew or whatever is going to condemn your child's soul to hell, it's your fucking responsibility as a parent to expose your child to all kinds of music that won't condemn their soul to hell. There's tons of instrumental and classical music that they deserve to know exists.
Yeah.
If you're that worried about it, why don't you expose them to something better? Mm-hmm. But the whole point was, they go, yeah, but most people would agree that a 9-year-old shouldn't be able to buy an album that talks about whatever, violence and drugs and sex. He goes, maybe that's so, but if you label that album, that's going to stop people from putting that money down. And what about the people in the band who didn't sing? What about a guy who was just hired to play guitar? He's supposed to get a certain percentage of that money. Mm-hmm. So you're possibly labeling the rest of his career you just can't do this. Okay? And so Zappa testified, this Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, fucking John Denver testified, and Frank Zappa had written a song about masturbating. Yeah. And they go, well, sir, you blah, 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 wrote a song. And he goes, if it's not illegal to do it, why should it be illegal to sing about it? Mm-hmm. And it's just the whole free speech thing. But those transcripts from that court case are what kind of got me really big on the free speech thing. It's like, and you realize we're either free or we're not. And if we are, we're better for it. But a lot of danger comes with that. And that's one reason freedom becomes less and less popular, because it carries some responsibility with it.
Thank you.
You open the door, and the bad people get to come in too. And that puts you in responsibility for weeding them out once they're in. But the alternative is nobody gets in, including you.
Yeah. Do you want to be free or do you want to be secure? And you have to decide.
Yeah, exactly. And I still believe the government can't make you a better person by passing a law or putting a restriction or putting a fucking sticker on a record.
Or liking your Facebook post.
Exactly. I think it's up to you to not be a piece of shit, but simply trying to weed out. You want I think we want to live in a society where the bad people bubble up to the top so you can fucking see them and you can get rid of them. You can run them out of town, because you know who they are. If they're not allowed to say the things, then they just simmer quietly below the surface. And that's, I think, I may be getting ahead of myself here. I usually do. But that's how you get systemic racism.
Yeah.
That's how you get, because all of a sudden these people realize, I just can't say it out loud. I can't say it out loud because it's not popular, but I'm still going to do it. I'm only going to hire white people to work in this police thing. We're all going to go out for beers after work. We're all going to talk about our racist beliefs. We're going to, and that's how you come up with an entire fucking police station of like racist guys that are, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If those people were allowed to walk through the hall and say what the fuck they wanted, people go, what the fuck did he just say? Hey, fire that fucking guy. Get him out of here, you know? But we want to, it's this blanket mentality. I think freedom works. That's the end of my little rant about that. Sorry.
So I deleted Facebook.
Did you really?
I bet you feel so much better.
First, I deleted it off my phone, and it felt so great that I went and deleted it off my computer, and I was just
Like
there,
you don't have a profile anymore? Or you just like
fuck, I didn't think about that. You can deactivate profiles, can't you?
Yep.
I bet it takes an hour, but
I've been thinking about it, but I've got
also
too
to the
much shit
point
that I can't do.
I'm also to the point now where I'm going to probably delete Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat off my phone.
Really?
You should, dude.
Just go. No, actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do a challenge, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
Let's delete all social media off our phones for a week.
No way,
then
dude. I can't do it. I follow too many like music creators and artists, and it's just not. That's not.
I'm in the
it's a
same
cable
boat because of the
business.
It's
cable
not an
business
option
and
for
me
me.
trying to get art.
Well, not just that either, but like a lot of people I respect are also kind of in that little DIY business of making. Like, there's a phenomenal guy in Oregon who sent me some stuff right now, and I'm actually working on a video for him, and we'll get to that. But it's a phenomenal creator of guitar pickups. If you haven't, I know some of the people that are involved in it are listeners, and anyway, it's just canceling. It's not an option for me. I still have to filter it.
Yeah, which sucks.
But I've done okay with it.
Can you get rid of Facebook?
Like off
Could
your
you
phone.
use
You-
Instagram
not-
and Twitter and just?
I don't use Twitter. I don't.
Get
I'm just
Facebook
never on
off-
Twitter.
Get Facebook off your phone.
That's
So
the thing.
just so you don't like look at it whenever you go take a poo.
Yeah, like you have to log in consciously. That's what
Yeah.
I did. I have it so I can promote the band when that stuff happens, or like the videos or like art and stuff.
Yeah,
But
I
I
want
got
to be
it
able
off
to
of my
share.
phone. So
I
it's-
still feel like we're creating content, and I need platforms to be able to share that stuff. And
agreed. But if it's only laptop accessible, then you have to sit down with the intent of I'm gonna log in, I'm gonna promote this,
right.
I'm gonna
think about
clear my
that.
notifications.
Well,
but
there's
not-
also a lot of people that I actually care about on Facebook. Like, there's some family members that's literally the only way I have of keeping track. Like, we don't talk, and I don't even know their phone number. Like, they're in other states, and
But
so
that was a decision that Libby actually made for
Yeah.
me because I was complaining about having it, and I was like, but I can't delete it because all those reasons. And
Yeah.
she goes, okay.
I have some
then-
extended family that I don't
Yeah.
have. Like, we're not on one of those like we text and talk. They're a lot older too, so sometimes Facebook Messenger or through a Facebook post is. They're just people that I keep up with through Facebook. That it has value to me. It's not just a bunch of people saying stuff that makes me mad.
For me,
Yeah.
it's turned into shit posting on both sides.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like it gets to the point where all the stuff I would keep Facebook for, like keeping in touch with family, gets drowned out by just the biggest amount of shit posting of, hey, look at me, on both sides too. I'm not picking on any particular person. It's literally the left and the right. There's just all this like insane, hey, look at me, pat me on the back. Hey, look at me, I'm proving you wrong. Basically, confirmation bias. It's a pool of confirmation bias of articles and thoughts that only agree with what you're talking about. And if someone
Right.
brings up something that's a fact that goes against what you say, you attack that person.
Or the like I said, objectivity, that the thing you feel so strongly about might have a few other sides to it. Doesn't make it less true, but that nothing exists in a vacuum. You know what I mean? Like,
Except an echo chamber.
things just aren't as simple as everybody makes them out to be. And not everybody wants to hear that. And not everybody has the time to go down to that rabbit hole. I get it. But like, and again, it's personal. It's whatever level you want to, like somebody said the analogy about like, if you walk into a room and you see a chair, for some people that's just a chair. For some people that's 4 or 5 pieces of wood put together. For other people that's molecules and atoms moving, refracting with light. And so different people perceive things on different levels of complexity, and that's just a fucking chair. Imagine how they feel about socially troubling issues, and like I get it, but it sounds like you might need to take a little social media break.
Yeah, and also it also feels good to get rid of social media, and in the same time, people tell me that it's not.
Well, you'd be
Or like
surprised
you-
how much I'm not on social media. Like these days,
Well, some people think that social media is where you go to voice your opinion. I think it's where you go to get a pat on the back and say that, hey, I'm doing this thing that everyone else is doing, right?
Yeah.
Did I do this okay?
For some people, it is.
Yeah.
And again, I would say, like I've been saying this all year, like, consider the source. There are some people that if I see a social media post, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or anything, if I see them post, I'm all over it reading it because they have so much credibility in my eyes for whatever reason. And maybe that's confirmation bias. Maybe I've agreed with them in the past, so I think they know what they're talking about. Whatever.
I will say though, if you're listening to this, me talk about shit posting on Facebook, and you, for some reason, feel personally attacked and offended, like I'm talking straight to you, I'm not. But go on and lace that bad boy up and take a walk.
Lace that bad boy and take a walk.
Go on and put that pair of shoes on and, go skip. Go kick rocks.
Go skip. I love that.
That's the thing that irritates me the most is getting little text messages from people I don't really talk to after listening to the episode. They're like, hey, when you talked about this one thing vaguely, were you talking about me? I'm like, no, but if you feel like I was, look in the mirror.
Maybe look at that.
That's a thing we call conviction, which is used to urge the self forward in positive progress.
Man, I'll say this, sort of at the, I don't know if it's the height, I don't know how you measure it, but one of the peaks of the social media explosion over the Black Lives Matter, when everybody was changing their profile picture to just a black square and everything, and they basically blacked out all their social media. So there was nothing to look at, and the idea was to kind of silence social media. And I did one too, but it had like cat eyes down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Just because I'm me. That wasn't a matter of disrespect to the black community. That's just my way of doing my thing.
Wasn't that black square thing a thing that someone else did to suppress the supporters?
Well, no.
That's a thing that came out as being possible, and that's why you just got to do what you want to do.
It turns out that the algorithms were attaching it to the way hashtags and stuff work. And I'm not going to explain it like I'm an expert, but there's a thing where everybody that used that hashtag, it got lumped into other things and it made it hard to read information. So they're saying, don't use this thing, use this other hashtag, whatever. But my whole point is that everybody blacked out their social media for a whole day, or a lot of people did.
And is it really blacking out when you still log in to black it out?
But here's the thing. Listen, what it does is
I wondered about that
when
too.
I opened Instagram that day, everything was just black squares. There was no reason to look. Mm-hmm. There was no reason to scroll. They just basically took a big time out. Mm-hmm. And it was so that people would listen to the voices of the people that were protesting.
Mm-hmm. But can you listen to those people's voices when they're protesting when you're too worried about getting that black square and the message that you're posting that black square on just right?
I think the black square was an anti-message.
But the people are still commenting under, like they're still making a long statement underneath it. Yeah, so it's still a post.
He's making the point that it still activates social media, which is what I was worried about.
It did. Right. It did, like in the morning, but later in the day, there was nothing to look at. There was no reason to log in. And after you went on Instagram 2 or 3 times and there was nothing but black squares, you kind of just forgot about it the rest of the day. And it was one of the most pleasant days of my life. Mm-hmm. Thinking like, well, there's no reason to go online because everyone's united in this thing, and there's nothing for me to look at. There's no eye candy. There's no whatever it is that gives you that bump of serotonin. There's no fancy guitars, and there's no clever memes, or all that went away, and you kind of were back in the real world for a few hours. Well, yeah. How amazing would it be if I know you couldn't get people to do that every week, but what if once a month everybody just took a social media break on the exact same day and switch their whole, and it could be in favor of something every week. It could be about the protest over systemic racism, and the next time could be over mental health awareness or whatever. But imagine if we just all got off our phones. I know that's kind of a pipe dream, but for one day, the world felt normal again, and it was because, I don't know how I'm trying to say it. I knew why. I knew that the world was all of a sudden quiet because of systemic racism. And I remember, so you kind of carry it with you, but at the same time, it silences all the bullshit. And it was kind of neat.
Well, I'm here to tell you guys, while that is true, it's also true that the world is socially, on the Western side of things, worse off for social media. There may be more awareness, so anyone that wants to come in the comments and attack the other side, I'm not saying that the good stuff doesn't happen either. But objectively, more and more people are kind of cultivating their own echo chambers and staying inside of them, which is causing entrenchment and causing a feeling of being cornered when an opposing idea comes at you and you don't know how to handle it anymore because you're not practiced in civil discourse. You don't have to be, because everyone just gets in this intellectual circle jerk and talks about whatever everybody else wants to talk about, and there's no other side. And it's not even just social media, but the advent of the internet age in general. When the internet was in its infancy, when I was a child, things felt calmer. And it's not because there weren't problems, but I think it's because people literally, in order to communicate, you had to talk to somebody. Like, your ability to communicate was limited by your ability to have a dialogue with another living, breathing human being. And that is lost. You're now able to...
And even if it was over the phone, I think you were still forced into
or even a letter, but there's still like a give and take that is needed.
Yeah, there's a certain type of engagement that happens.
You can't shitpost. You can't find whatever text you want to quote or song lyric, or if you have an idea on your own, whatever it is, you can't just type it, post it, and then leave.
And there were still people, I'm sure, borrowing ideas, like they read a book or something, and then they they paraphrase that when they talk to their friend or they debate it or whatever.
Yeah, but the point is, it's answerable on the other side of the conversation.
And it wasn't copy and paste. So much of the stuff you see today on social media is just copy and paste. Like, and a lot of people, I think, man, this is very complicated. I don't want to misspeak. A lot of people are wearing that shit on their sleeve, and really it's just somebody else's opinion.
Yeah, form your own.
You know,
use that to inform yourself, for sure.
There's a type of weird engagement, shit posting. Mm-hmm. Like, you could post something, you could get all fired up and feel all idealistic and post something, and then you go away. Mm-hmm. You go fucking wash dishes, or you go back to work, or whatever. Your bathroom break is over, whatever.
Yeah,
you're sitting on a toilet posting something all fiery, and then you just go back to normal life. And 6 hours later, somebody, you know, in your social group or whatever, comes home, and who knows what kind of a day they're having, but they fire it up and they see it and they're offended by it, and then two friends don't talk. I would say this.
I'm in that position right
now. That's terrible. For anybody listening, if something has happened, like philosophically or intellectually, especially with social media lately, that you've had a difference of opinion with somebody that you love or that you were close to, and you're not talking anymore because of it,
maybe you weren't really friends at the beginning.
No, stop that shit. Fucking stop that shit. Get together, hash it out, and above all else, don't let it be bigger than your relationship with other people. Don't let any of this get bigger than. Don't let it drive people away from you. Literally, the only way we're going to beat any of this stuff is by being together. That's my
very
message.
much a society nowadays. If you can't disagree with me and still be my friend, and that's very odd, because I disagree with you two all the fucking time, and yet here I am every Sunday.
Yep. Well, I mean, but he's right though. Consider that
but you're not our friend.
It's been, oh my God, Spencer.
Just kidding. Now, do you remember the Dave Chappelle acceptance speech for the Mark Twain Award, where he was talking about how even comedians he knows are racist, like he still watches their act and he finds some truth in it, even if it's not what he likes. And he goes backstage and they drink together and they talk and they sit down and they meet like adults on certain things, and that's what comedy is supposed to do. It's supposed to bring the truth out, you know. Where's all the comedy in any of this? Like, nobody's laughing anymore. Nothing's funny.
Oh, just wait until like Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle have a new special come out.
I can't wait for Chappelle's next special.
I'm dying for Chappelle to put out something about all this right now, because like
I'm waiting for Bill Burr to say something, because I feel like he's so angry. He doesn't give a shit who's mad at him, and he'll just say it. So I'm interested to see what he has to say.
Hey, after Chappelle's comments on Michael Jackson in that last special, I cannot wait for him to open up this can of worms.
Jesus, dude.
I can't. It's going to be the best. It's going to be more cathartic than getting rid of
Sticks and Stones, probably the best bit in Sticks and Stones is the Juicy Sommelier.
Oh, man. Oh, my God, dude.
I watch that every now and then. I just pull it up and listen to it. It's, oh, God.
I think we're at a point now where only humor can save us.
Or the other bit where he talks about my money, my choice.
Dude, he did the one thing where he talked about Kevin Spacey. It's horrible. He goes, what he did. He goes, first off, what was he doing at the party with a 14-year-old boy? He goes, I've never been to a good party that had 14-year-old boys at it, even when I was 13. He goes, what he did to that boy was wrong. And imagine that he had to carry that secret with him for so long. And the worst thing is, if he would have carried it for 6 more months, I would have got to see how House of Cards ends. I'm not saying I agree with that, but we're at a point, seriously, man.
No, but that's the Black Mirror. He's a better Black Mirror than that TV show.
Are you calling him black?
Oh my God.
I'm out.
What?
Bye. Nope.
For the record, Dave Chappelle is black, just for the record. But
So is Hunter.
I'm not voting for Biden.
fuck, I don't know. We're at
We're
the
going
point.
to edit that shit out.
We're at the point. No, sir. We're at the point where only love and humor can save us.
Don't vote for me, then you ain't black.
I mean, how? Listen, full circle.
He
Full
did
circle.
say that, didn't he? He said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not black."
No, no.
You ain't black.
If you don't vote for me, you ain't black, is what he said. Is
Oh,
what
in
Joe
quote,
Biden said.
you ain't black.
So you have fucking Bunker Baby over on one side, and then you have fucking You Ain't Black on the other. Like, who do you fucking vote for?
Tell it.
I think the best thing that
Third
could
party.
happen is if we swap their adrenal glands, because then Trump couldn't do anything until the election's over, and we might find out how bad Joe really is.
Yeah.
God.
If he had Trump's energy, he'd be able to actually speak a full sentence.
Dude,
I
we've
don't think
gotta-
I don't think Trump has energy. I think he like devours stem cells on the daily. I think he just like cracks open
And
babies' necks
McDonald,
and
yeah,
goes
yeah.
nuts.
He says rarely largely he eats fast food because he knows because fast food, the people don't know who they're making it for. He'll just send somebody to get him
yeah,
McDonald's.
for the drive-through.
Yeah. But he says if
That's actually pretty clever.
He's afraid if somebody knows who they're cooking for that they'll poison him. He goes one of the reasons I eat fast food is because I'm anonymous. I'd hate for anybody to know who they're cooking for. They'll probably try to kill me.
I bet Anonymous was offended by that after they released those documents with his name in it.
Does it also irritate you guys that everybody who's
No
a big Trump
comment.
supporter says he's a man of God, but then when he goes out to a church to hold up a Bible, he holds it upside down and backwards like a fucking idiot?
And also gassed all the people from the church that were there handing out water bottles and performing first aid.
It bothers me, the people that say that, but not everyone that supports him believes that, because I know people that did vote for him and still support him. Again, I love all people. I don't understand that, but still, they do. But they also, if you brought that part up, they go, oh, no, he's not a fucking Christian. There's no way. There is no way. He's full of shit. He's got that base
That's another
covered.
thing. That's another thing I really hated is when people would fight under articles about Trump, and you would see somebody that you know be like, "Oh, I love him. He's a man of God, speaking the true
Whatever.
word." And I was like,
Whatever, dude. Have you seen the video? Butch Walker posted a thing
He
of this.
literally
He
just-
posted a TikTok video of this girl, and she was lip syncing to the video of Trump. Somebody was like, "Okay, well, sir, we appreciate you being a man of God." I go, "Thank you." And he goes, "What are your favorite passages from the Bible?" He goes, "Oh, there's so many. I love all of them." I go, "Well, just what's one that speaks to you?" He goes, "Well, I don't really want to pick one because there's so many." And they go, "Well, do you like the Old Testament or the New Testament?" But he goes, I definitely would have to say both. They're both very good, and they're both." And he clearly has no idea what's in the Bible. You know, he was just going, "Well, they're both very good. Bible's a great book. Usually, sometimes when I hold the Art of the Deal, I say it's my second favorite book. You know, right behind the Bible. But maybe it's the other way around." What a
I saw
turd!
that,
Do you
yeah.
feel like he'd open the Bible and look at it and be like, "What is this? It's not in chapters."
No, we know that happened because he called it 2 Corinthians. You can't deny it.
This is the craziest shit. Hey,
What's
He
great is,
figured out-
and I would go on and point this out as somebody who's never read the Bible, probably won't ever read the Bible.
Sure. It's actually good. You
I
should,
feel like
but
I know more
at
about the
least
Bible
once.
than him.
You probably do.
probably do.
By virtue of having us as friends, you for sure do.
Yeah.
No, I tune it out when you guys talk about that shit.
You still do.
It's fair.
The white noise that you think is in
I
the
start
Bible
thinking
is
about
probably
Five
more
Guys.
accurate.
Hey, you can't say white noise anymore. It's just noise now. No? Black noise? No?
White,
damn it.
What?
white.
What?
I mean,
Okay.
Well, guys, this has been a great last episode.
Whatever.
Of the Beacon
What
House
sound do you
Podcast.
think a black hole makes?
whatever sound.
Whatever Joe Biden made.
The sound of atoms being structurally torn apart is going to be your Democratic nominee. 2020.
Kill me.
Oh my.